Do you know?
Hello and welcome back to coverage here at Grand Prix Minneapolis. I am Marshall Sutcliffe. I'm in the booth with Melissa DeTora, and we are ready for the next round of action, round 6 here from Minneapolis. This is Kyle Hadley versus the Hall of Famer Ben Stark. What is Ben playing?
A very sweet deck.
Oh, he went sweet?
I am really, really excited. So the deck looks like Mardu Control, not Mardu Vehicles.
Mardu
Although
Control.
there
Look at
are
this.
some vehicles in this deck. So this deck plays Cultivator's Caravan, for mana fixing mostly, a ton of Planeswalkers, Fumigate, which is a card that I really wanted to see this weekend, and then, wait for it, Descend Upon the Sinful.
Oh, baby. Full control route here for Ben Stark. Now he's using Planeswalkers to kind of clean up the mess?
Yeah, it looks like the win condition is Planeswalkers. He has 4 Gideon, Ally of Zendikar, 2 Ob Nixilis, Reignited, 2 Sorin Grim Nemesis. I guess he can technically win with Cultivator's Caravan if he finds some ways to crew it. He has Creature Land, Shambling Vent. Descend Upon the Sinful can be a win condition. If he has Delirium, he can make a 4/4 Angel token. But honestly, I've never seen anything like this in the standard format yet, so this is a very sweet take on control.
Little brew from Ben Stark. I love it.
Yeah, this is great.
You know,
also,
he will-
Painful Truths.
Very nice. Ben's taking a look at all the cards he's got in hand. He hasn't really done much this game thus far, just played land so far. But the good news is that his opponent, Kyle Hadley, also hasn't done anything, though here he goes. Anticipate into Glimmer of Genius now for Kyle. So he's kind of crafting a hand. He's recognized that Ben has put 0 pressure on him whatsoever, and now he's just kind of trying to set up for that long game.
Yeah, so here's the problem with Ben Stark's deck. Lots of spot removal. Definitely prepared for mono red. Unfortunately, like, this matchup is just not good for him.
This seems like a terrible... Like, is he just going to run a Gideon right into it here?
He has to.
Oh, man.
But on the other side of the table, Kyle has also a ton of spot removal. So he also has dead cards. They both have dead cards. But the difference is Kyle is playing cards like Glimmer of Genius and Torrential Gearhulk. And Ben's card draw is in the form of Planeswalkers and Painful Truths. So I think Kyle comes out a little bit ahead there.
Oh, baby, look at this.
Also, Kyle has counterspells.
And Chandra Flamecaller.
Yeah. And so, like, Ben's going to have a really hard time dealing with the Chandra.
Now, it made sense, right? Like, think of the logic that Ben would have put into this, right? He wants to have a good matchup against red, and he'd like to be able to beat the decks that are trying to beat red, which looks like what he tuned his deck for. What he probably assumed was that there wasn't going to be much blue-red control because the matchup against red is so bad. And he probably thought, well, I'll just have to not play that often, and I don't think people are going to be playing it. But it's a numbers game, right? You always have the chance of playing against any of these decks.
Yeah, I think you're absolutely right. I think blue-red control is just not a good choice for this tournament a week after the Pro Tour when mono red was the deck to beat. So, you know, like you said, Ben is thinking, oh, no one's going to play blue-red control, so I'll just play this sweet Mardu Planeswalker deck, prey on all the aggro decks, like destroy the aggro decks, and then if I play against control, yeah, I'm probably going to die.
And we'll see if that happens here for Ben. But yes, a very tough matchup for his Mardu Planeswalkers deck. As we see finally a target for Magma Spray, says Kyle Hadley, who's going to then use the 2/3/1s to take care of Gideon. Oh, but looks like Ben has a Fatal Push, or no, a Magma Spray, excuse me.
Honestly, you don't want to use a Magma Spray on a 3/1 token that's going to die at end of turn, but, you know, sometimes you got to do what you got to do.
Yeah, what a beating. Also, incidentally, Kyle Hadley has calmly passed the turn back with 6 mana available, which is going to raise a red flag.
I wonder what's going to happen.
Ben's going to definitely have noticed that.
Everyone knows that 6 untapped mana, when some of it is blue, means Torrential Gearhulk.
And take a look at the expression on Ben Stark, and you'll see exactly what it feels like to know that your opponent could very well have a Torrential Gearhulk. It is not fun.
Yeah, definitely not. It's just like, what do I do? Do I just play around it? I can't say go, because then he's just going to cast it and play Glimmer.
Also, Ben has drawn a significant number of lands here as he plays this land and just says go after making a 2/2 Knight. And actually, it is not Torrential Gearhulk this time. It's Pull from Tomorrow, which is just as
Arguably
bad.
just as bad.
I mean, it doesn't pressure his Planeswalker, but his hand is just loaded. And Ben just really has no ways to interact with the key spells here from Hadley, right? All these card draw spells have just gone unchecked.
Yeah, definitely. Like Kyle has an advantage mostly because even though they both have dead cards, Kyle does have, negate, disallow, better card draw, better card selection, ways to deal with Ben's threats, and Ben's threats are so few. Generally, control decks play very few threats to begin with, but Ben just has very few answers to planeswalkers. Most of his answers are for small creatures. Fumigate's a dead card. Descend Upon the Sinful's pretty dead.
Man, speaking of dead, wow. Ben is really in a tough spot now. He's activated Needle Spires. That's going to get Harnessed Lightninged. Ben is going to use a Fatal Push.
Fatal Push on a token. So sad.
Yeah, I think he just figures he's not going to see a better target anyway.
Yeah, he's not going to see a better target.
Yeah.
Yeah, Fatal Push only hits Wandering Fumarole in this matchup.
Right?
And I guess 3/1 token.
Yeah. Oof.
Chandra Flamecaller is a sweet card.
It really is.
So here's an attempt to try and take out this Chandra Flamecaller.
Hey, the shields are down as far as Torrential Gearhulk goes, but you got to figure that Kyle has something here, right?
Yeah, he already used a Harness Lightning and a Magma Spray. What else could he have here? Looks like his hand is full of blue cards. He might not even have an answer.
Yeah, no way. This can't just happen.
He does have Wandering Fumarole.
He has a Wandering Fumarole that he can activate here and block. Okay.
But then, shields are super down, too. Ben
Well.
probably has a Fatal Push or a Magma Spray or something. Or a Grasp of Darkness.
Wow, he is just activating the Fumarole.
I feel like he has a Grasp in his future.
Well, I don't think Ben would let him block if that were the case, right?
Well, looks like he doesn't have it.
Right. So he blocked the Shambling Vent, and Chandra took 5.
Yep. One thing about Chandra, it's so good against opposing planeswalkers.
Just putting up that 6
Yeah.
hasty,
hasty
non-sorcery, speedable power.
Chandra is actually a very good answer to Gideon.
Strangely enough.
Mm-hmm. It's like you either kill the Gideon with the tokens or they block with the 2/2 Knight token that they just made and Gideon takes 3. But either way, it's just kind of a bad spot.
Oh,
Hour
boy.
of Devastation.
All
Goodbye,
right.
all planeswalkers.
Yeah, that is going to kill his Planeswalker as well. So Ben, not the worst exchange for him there.
No, that was actually great for Ben.
Yeah, he's cut
Because his hand is
3
loaded with
more
Gideons.
He's somehow Gideon flooded.
Too many Gideons.
But that does mean he gets to just keep jamming threat after threat after threat here.
Yeah, here Ben pretty much has to hope that Kyle doesn't have a Torrential Gearhulk ever.
That was a Supreme Will
Supreme
there
Will,
from Kyle
yep.
Hadley. Fair enough. Also, Ben will note, all right, you're playing Supreme Wills. Noted.
Something to play around in the future. Looks like Kyle's holding a Censor, which doesn't do a whole lot. Oh, another Chandra.
Okay, that's a big game.
Can't have Negate out of the Mardu deck.
Well, yeah, the second Chandra may very well be the death knell for Ben Stark.
Yeah,
It took him a lot just to force Kyle to deal with that first one, didn't it?
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, Chandra is a pretty good metagame call here, actually. It's just you drop it, it just takes care of anything on the board in mono red. It takes care of all the zombies. And if you are going up against a control deck, it's a pretty reasonable threat.
Ben
So,
Stark's going
yeah.
to put another Gideon on the stack, and it's going to resolve. He's going to make a token and pass the turn back. That's going to be Censor getting cycled here from Hadley.
Didn't cycle in response, though, which means he's probably not playing Negate.
In the main deck.
Yeah, looks like there are no Negates here. He just has his only 2-mana counterspell is Censor.
You know, that's a really good observation. I wonder, so if you're sitting in Ben Stark's seat, do you notice that?
Probably.
And do you make the assumption,
I
that
think
he's probably not playing Negate in the main deck
it really
based on that
depends
too?
on the level of player, right?
Mhm.
Maybe the player is not thinking about what they have in their deck. They're just oh, this Censor does nothing. I'm going to cycle it at end of turn.
I see.
And not saying, oh, if I cycle it at end of turn, he'll know I don't have Negate, so I better cycle it in response. So he thinks that I have Negate in my deck.
Mm-hmm.
So it just really depends on like how well you think your opponent knows their deck.
Okay, well, I have a question then. By the way, Ben's attacking once again for 7, and this is going to be Glimmer of Genius, which of course isn't going to do anything as far as blocks. Let's see if Kyle can find it. When you're sitting in Ben's seat, back when you were playing on the PTs and stuff.
Yep.
How are you trying to make that kind of assessment as you go? Are you looking and saying how good is this opponent, and looking at the way that they play and the way that they they talk, or like what are some of the things you're looking for?
Yeah, like so I'm definitely looking for like when you're casting your spells, right? So for example, this opponent here casts Glimmer in response to something, right?
Mm-hmm.
If he cast it during his main phase, he could have maybe found a removal spell like Magma Spray for the Night token,
Mm-hmm.
and then would have been able to take out Gideon, But instead he didn't do that, and he played the Glimmer during Ben's turn.
By the way, this is a lethal attack.
This is a lethal attack.
Yeah.
Yep, Magma Spray will do it. Let's see if
Well,
Kyle has a counter. Oh,
he has.
what a beating. Yeah, so you can just Supreme Will this. Basically
Okay.
just get it with anything.
Did Kyle actually change the power and toughness there, though? Like, wasn't it lethal without it?
It was actually, yeah.
So he kind of just opened the door. Don't you just say, okay?
Yeah, for sure.
Okay.
Yeah, I wonder what happened there. I mean, we don't hear what the players are saying, so I'm not really sure what happened, but it's possible that maybe some of the tokens went after Gideon. I'm not really sure.
Okay. Well, at any rate, Kyle Hadley does end up winning game 1 pretty handily there over Ben. I mean, Ben put up a fight really trying to apply pressure to those Chandras, but it was a big task for Ben to try to get those Chandras off the board, and ultimately he had to use up a ton of resources just to do that, and in the meantime was taking hits from random Chandra tokens enough that his life total got low enough so that one swing there from Hadley just finished him off.
So there are some sweet cards in Ben's sideboard for this matchup, because he's definitely going to need some help. So Transgress the Mind, Lay Bare the Heart are like Thoughtseize variants that he can play to like take care of stuff like Chandra before they come down. Never Return, also a great card to take out a Planeswalker. And then here's a sweet one, Dream Stealer.
Ooh,
So
I like that.
So it's possible that Kyle is boarding out a bunch of spot removal spells because they don't do a whole lot here. So if Ben can resolve a turn 3 Dream Stealer and just start being down with it and having Kyle discard a card every turn, he can definitely steal a game with this card. It's also a really huge threat as an Eternalized guy too. Other sweet cards. So like what it looks like when I'm looking at the sideboard is Ben's sideboard is just for control. So main deck is tuned to beat aggro, and then he has like 15 cards for the control mirror. He has Archangel Avacyn, Kalidas, another Painful Truths, Dispossess, which is like, not a great card against control. It's more like a combo card, but he doesn't have anything here against aggro. Like, he's just like, I'm going to play
wait a
against
minute.
mono red.
Will he not bring in Dispossess against the Gear Hulk deck?
I don't think it does anything. Like, I don't think I would.
Dude, I would totally bring it in.
Yeah. I hate those cards.
I hate those cards too. But isn't the late game on Kyle Hadley's deck just so Gear Hulk dependent?
Yeah, but theoretically you draw your Transgress and Dream Stealer. Wait, no, sorry. Lay Bare the Heart and Dream Stealer.
And just steal those?
Yeah. Just like get all the cards out of their hand before he can get to turn 6. It's a stretch, but he has enough ways to deal with a Gear Hulk. This deck is definitely sweet.
I like that Ben's prepared, by the way, for the control matchup as well.
Yeah, for sure.
I mean, he's not gonna come, not having covered his bases, but sometimes you have to make decisions during your deck build that say, okay, there's bases I will not be able to cover, but I think it's correct. It's one of those type scenarios, But
Yeah.
it looks like he has shored up the matchup potentially for games 2 and 3.
Yeah, definitely. Sometimes you just have this like metagame call deck, which is what this deck seems like. And you're just like, okay, if I play against deck X, I'm going to lose. I'm going to devote 0 sideboard cards to it. Just hope I don't play it. If I play against it once in the tournament, great. I have 1 loss in the tournament. But my plan is to just play against all these other decks, all these other rounds, and get the wins because of how my deck is tuned. It's really hard to beat everything. But if he tunes his deck to beat aggro like 80-20 or something, and the control matchup is 80-20 the other way, that's probably fine for this tournament.
Ben kept immediately. And Kyle has as well.
I would love to see turn 3 Dream Stealer on the play here. Looks like they're waiting.
Okay, I guess we're just holding the opponents for just a second for a technical issue. But I think we can get him underway. All right, looks like a Shambling Venk's going to kick things off here for Ben Stark as he passes the turn back to Hadley.
It looks like Kyle kept in Sweltering Suns, if that is the Sweltering Suns that I see.
Really? You're right. That is a Sweltering Suns that you see.
Wow, this is a bad transgress.
He almost whiffed.
Yeah.
The Sweltering Suns is the only thing he can hit.
And let's say he boarded out Sweltering Suns for negate or something. Then it would have just been a whiff.
Yeah, Ben's going to feel pretty neutral about that one. Just like, well, I took a card that I don't think matters
I don't
anyway.
think he cares about that card.
Yeah.
My guess is he kept it in to just clean up some Gideon tokens.
Or just cycle it at some point.
Maybe he just didn't have enough cards to board in. Kyle has a sweet card in his sideboard that might have come in this matchup. Metallurgic Summonings. So it's whenever you cast an instant or sorcery, you just make an XX artifact creature token, where X is that CMC of the spell. That card can steal games in the right matchup.
By the way, we are aware of our life total. We're working on fixing it. It kind of got stuck. Ben is not at 14, though. He is at 20.
Yeah, both players are at 20. The game just started.
And we are addressing it. There's an Evolving Wilds on turn 4 for Stark, who just passes it back.
Which means no turn 4 Gideon. And we also didn't see the Dream Stealer like I really wanted to see.
Yeah. Ben Stark has disappointed the Datora. He'll have to pay for that. Land number 4 for Hadley before passing the turn back to Stark, who's going to crack an Evolving Wilds. Not a whole lot of action here. A couple of Anticipates and that Transgress the Mind. But otherwise, slow start for both decks. This isn't uncommon, though. Neither of these are aggressive. I think, in some way we're just used to, seeing these red and zombie decks that are, they have a huge board state by this point in the game. But this matchup's not like that. He did, by the way, cycle a Canyon Slough there. Did Ben Stark.
Anticipate is actually an important card here because Kyle doesn't really have a whole lot to do early, and neither does Ben. So if Kyle can spend early turns just sculpting his hand with Anticipate.
There's your Dream
Stealer.
We
got the Dream Stealer.
Maybe he was just playing around Censor.
We did it. No.
Oh,
but don't worry,
down.
it will be back.
Yeah, maybe next turn, right?
I believe the Eternalized cost is 7.
Oh, is it 7 on Dream Stealer?
It better be 7.
Yeah, that's like the, what's it called? There you go. It's
Whoa.
6.
Whoa, it's 6.
Yeah, it's 7 on the Champion of Wits.
Yeah, it is 7 on the Champion of Wits, yep.
Hey, you can't counter that, although you actually
can disallow it.
Yeah, and he has a disallow.
No, he just had a hard
but he's
sliding.
just going to go ahead and kill it.
I mean, he had to use 2 cards to deal with that 1 Dream Stealer.
Okay, yeah, that's a good way to look at it.
Another way to look at it is Ben had to spend 9 mana, while Kyle spent 4 mana and 2 cards. So Ben did have to invest a lot.
But he didn't capitalize on it, right? On the mana discrepancy? Like, Ben spent way more mana, but Kyle, didn't really do anything with that extra mana anyway.
Yeah.
So Ben's got to be happy with that transaction.
Also, since Kyle did just use 2 spot removal spells, it's unlikely that he has another one for this Needle Spires.
Yeah, so Ben says, look, if you want to take the turn off casting a Glimmer of Genius, it's going to cost you 4 life. Wow. Yeah, and it hit, too.
cycle.
Another Sweltering Suns? What in the world? He's got 2 of them in there still.
I'm sure there's some reason why he wanted to keep it in.
Well, if you figure it out, let me know.
I mean, I think the reason is Gideon tokens.
Okay.
Because those can just get out of hand. Like,
Sure.
if a Gideon resolves and he doesn't have a Gear Hulk to attack it, or
Chandra.
yeah, or a Chandra. Because even if he has a Gear Hulk, Ben can just chump with the 2/2 token every turn and then not really getting anywhere. So yeah, like Sweltering Suns can clean things up.
So that's like his insurance policy.
I guess so. And it cycles.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah, it's fine.
Ooh.
Painful truth.
Here's the big card draw spell from Ben, and that's going to get a negate out of Kyle's hand. But wait, there's more? No, just the Needle Spire's coming in again.
Get in there with. Wow.
Oh, look who found a Harness Lightning.
Wow. Kyle has a lot of Harness Lightnings.
Right, he didn't have one last turn, right?
Well, he didn't. He
Just chose not to cast it or just drew it.
No, I think he glimmered, right? Did he glimmer instead?
Yeah.
Yeah, that was it. So he probably just found it.
Yep. Well, land number 7 hits the battlefield here for Hadley. Wow, Haymaker's time for Ben. He says, look, I just got a negate out of your hand. Oh, but there's the big Gear Hulk.
Every time.
Yep, Soren Grim Nemesis not going to resolve.
Always have the Gear Hulk.
And now this is a big problem
Gear
for
Hulk
Stark.
is such a fast clock. Such a strong card. In every matchup. It's just a good card. What can Ben do here? Attack with Shambling Vent. All right, all right.
Ob Nixilis, is this going to resolve? Nope.
And a Glimmer?
Oh, man. Kyle Hadley.
Glimmer probably seals it.
And
he kept a card on top.
Yeah.
Oh, man, this game feels over.
Yeah, Counterspell here probably locks it up for Hadley. He only needs to get in 2 more times. Now, Ben can chump block a couple of times with his creature lands, but...
You're attacking, gain some life, but not where you want to be.
Right. And he's racing a Gear Hulk? Okay.
So if Kyle has another Gear Hulk here, then that's
Game.
it.
Yeah.
Well, it's not game next turn, but it will be game. Like, I don't think Ben can recover.
Commander 65 is waiting for you at the Blue Gathering Point. Xavier Carlson for the Blue Gathering.
No other Gear Hulk.
Okay, that's interesting.
So that means Ben is probably at 14 from gaining 4 life, but the life totals haven't updated yet.
Mm-hmm.
All right. That's 11.
Yeah, so
Ben's
he can't
down
be
to
at
3.
10. There we go.
He's at 3.
Well, that was a never to return.
So Ben probably needs to never the Chandra here.
Yeah.
Never the Chandra. Then
Pass or
no,
he
you
could
can't.
return.
Like,
but
you probably have to return.
rather than chumping with one of the creature lands.
It's pretty tough. Like, neither situation is good.
I agree with that.
The creature land play is better because it plays around Magma Spray. And also plays around sorcery removal. So he probably just has to never the Chandra and pass, and then chump block, and then hope for an answer to Gear Hulk. But Ben hasn't made a play yet. Do we know what else he has in hand besides never return?
No.
On the Gear Hulk.
Never the Gear Hulk. Oh,
He had
God.
negate anyway.
Yeah, it's a negate. Kyle Hadley, man, he is just putting it to Ben Stark here. Looking to hand Ben his first loss.
Well, he did keep a card on top with Glimmer.
Maybe that was it.
That's usually game.
Yeah. But it had to be negate.
Yeah, it had to be negate.
It had to be negate here. He only had 2 mana available. So Ben just passes the turn back and awaits his fate, which doesn't look good. He can make a
Can he
shambling
survive
vent.
this? He can-
Oh, disallow
what?
the
Disallow
the shambling vent
activation of the shambling
activation.
vent.
Oh, Kyle. And that's going to do it. Kyle Hadley
wow.
dispatches of Ben Stark.
Yeah, this matchup is just so bad.
Oh, my. It looked horrendous for Ben. My guess is that at least post-board, it isn't quite as bad as it looked, because Kyle just seemed to kind of have every avenue covered at every point there.
Yeah, he had every answer at the right time.
Yeah, no stumbles, exactly what you need right when you need it. And my guess is that the average game is a little closer than that, but game one, it looked really bad for Ben, and I don't think that changes a whole lot.
Yeah, even after sideboard, the matchup is still pretty atrocious.
Yeah. But like we said, I think that Ben Stark probably leaning on the meta game to sort of weed out the decks like Blue-Red Control, as, traditionally Blue-Red has had a very bad matchup against the red deck. At least that's
Oh, yeah, for sure.
the perception.
Oh, yeah, it's not good for the blue-red deck,
Right.
which is why I didn't expect to see a lot of it this weekend, but I saw a lot more than I thought I would.
Well, along those lines, I think Ben's with you, right? He didn't expect to see a lot of it either.
Absolutely.
And that's kind of how you can decide to take a deck like this that doesn't match up well against these slower control decks, but should be able to prey pretty well on the faster decks and even the more mid-range style decks as well. All right, that's going to do it for our live coverage here from Minnesota in round 6. We're going to be back after these messages.
Wait, are we on? Are we live or is it commercials?
Looks like we might be live. Let's find out. Well, we might be live. Hi.
Are we live?
If we're live, let's just pretend that we're live in case we're not.
Okay, we might be live.
Yeah, I don't know. The chat will let us know in a second. Hi, Rashad. We're live.
Well, we're going to see a sweet match.
We love you guys. Yeah, we are going to see a sweet match. We also have to show some more commercials before it, but yeah, it looks like he's fixing it now. He'll let us know when when we're ready to go back. All right. He says we may now return to our commercial. We'll see you in a minute.